1998 Daihatsu Cuore Avanzato TRXXR4. I apologize for all the mispronunciations that are going to happen here.
Daihatsu Cuore Avanzato TRXXR4. That's the kind of car we're crossing the Atlantic for. Dun, 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 dun.
This is a cigarette case with a 600cc 16-valve turbocharged intercooled 4-cylinder engine that revs to 8,500 RPM, and I love everything about it.
Marry me.
Mount me! Daihatsu is a pioneering engine and car manufacturing company in Japan who slowly got absorbed into Toyota from the 60s into the 1990s. Daihatsu's beginnings predate World War I, when they made steam engines, industrial decombobulators, clockwork autofiletial actuators, women's hammers, international asshole expanders, remanufactured screams, equine hats, double-pumping dumpling rumblers, internal combusting elderly, and later small affordable automobiles. In 1988, Daihatsu tried to bust into the United States market, but cut their losses in the early 1990s because Honda, Nissan, Isuzu, Mitsubishi, and Daihatsu's then-growing shareholder Toyota had the US well satisfied with tiny cars. Plus, as Honda discovered, a CRX is about as small as you can go in America before us Yanks feel unsafe. And Daihatsu makes almost exclusively K cars, and they just don't work in the United States because they don't have to. Our roads are big enough, and even our cities are wide enough for mid-sized cars, with the exception of Center City, Philadelphia, parts of Manhattan, and all of Boston. But here in the United Kingdom, a car this narrow gives you room to breathe. It looks like it wants to fall over because of its height to width ratio, but really it's quite stable, even though it's as tall as its name is long. 1998 Daihatsu Cuore Avanzato TRXXR4. What kind of hubris does a company have to give a car name this clunky, and I suppose this unpronounceable to Westerners? Ford focus grouped the name Edsel for months in the 1950s before throwing up their hands and just going with a tribute to Henry Ford's son. And even they didn't come up with a name this unnecessarily long. It's like every Transformers movie that was 45 minutes too long without any of the goods to justify it. You're at the bottom of your popcorn for the first time in God knows how many movies, and you just want it to end so you can go take a hot harmonica in the IMAX bathroom. And yet, even though it looks like the shrinky-dink son of a Suzuki Alto and a Subaru Impreza, the character of the Daihatsu remains, for the most part. This has a, 659-600cc 4-cylinder engine that makes 63 horsepower. I know most K cars are 3-cylinder, but look, count the spark plug wires. This one is a 4-pot. It's part of the export version of Japanese K cars, which are not to be confused with the Chrysler K platform. Two different things, just the same pronunciation. If you like JDM, you're probably gonna like this, both because of and in spite of its quirks. For instance, Paul, the owner, currently has this in 4-wheel drive mode, but you can change it out back into 2-wheel drive front-wheel drive mode, but it requires you to get out of the car, get down on the ground, and pull a pin down on the differential. Or is that the differential, or is that the back of the gearbox? Everything's so packed in here. The point is, you get stuck in the snow and you're not in 4-wheel drive. You have to get out of the car, crawl down in the snow or the mud, and pull or push this pin in. That's where you turn the all-wheel drive on and off. So he just leaves it in 4-wheel drive all the time. Even though red line is 8,500 RPM, the limiter is set at 9,500 RPM, which gives this car a top speed of 98 miles an hour. That's where it's limited by gearing. And a 0 to 60 time in the ballpark of 8.5 seconds. So the lightweight nature of the car adds a bit of punch to it that might not have been there otherwise, considering the underpowered engine. But the underpowered engine is the point, but we're going to get to that in a little bit later. Modifications include new fog lights and folding mirrors, but make no mistake, the body length is shorter than Alto versus McGregor. It's got a solid amount of legroom at the expense of trunk space, but it's a 4-wheel drive K car, so what'd you really expect? Other quirks include a fob button that will turn the alarm on and unlock the car, but it won't lock the car if it's already unlocked. No, seriously, this car is right at the apex of 90s weirdness that us Americans never had. If I could get this in the United States, I'd be the most popular guy at every sheets meet. In a sense, it doesn't do any kind of disservice to the name Daihatsu, which has been around for 110 years now. But then it doesn't exactly change the game either. You have to look back at how Daihatsu was performing in this side of the world in its early run. It wasn't until the 1960s that Daihatsu started expanding to Europe, and even then, they didn't see real success until the 1980s with the K cars. It's significant to note that by 1998, Toyota had gone from being a shareholder in the company to gaining majority ownership with 51.2%. So in a way, cars like the Cuore were foreshadowing the end of Daihatsu as an independent company calling its own shots. Granted, Daihatsu hasn't been entirely independent since Toyota bought in back in the 1960s, but there still was a certain autonomy to the brand that no longer existed by the time the 21st century rolled around. That's when sales dropped like a hot rock. By 2013, Daihatsu pulled out of Europe entirely, and in August of 2016, Daihatsu completed its transformation into a subsidiary of Toyota, or more importantly, an emerging compact car company. I suppose Toyota saw that Daihatsu knew small cars better than just about anybody and sees the value in what they can bring to the table. But it's hard to imagine that the Toyota influence won't become more overt as time goes on, rather than less. But after knowing all this, I'm confident Daihatsu will always exist in some form of fashion, as long as they keep building cars people want, even 20 years on in the middle of Essex.
How does it drive? I would be the king of scary tattooed high schoolers in this. They would say yo at me while I drive slowly while revving high on Route 222.
Wait a minute, what the hell was happening in this picture? I took it for a reason. What is everybody doing? I don't remember why. This has got to be like an album cover or something. I'm sorry for focusing on this one shot. I just like it so much.
Every shift is a sensation.
Does it like it when it goes up that high?
Yeah, you can go. The limit is on 9,500.
Wow.
But peak power's at about 7,000.
Okay, this is a very tall car with tiny tires.
It doesn't do it very well.
But it turns better than the Ford.
Cool.
Can I go for it?
Yeah, sure.
See, right now it feels like it's gonna break. It goes, what the hell is that? Oh, sorry, dude. That wasn't shit. All right, you know what I forgot? I forgot about third. I'm sorry, man. It didn't go to the red, though. I was doing so well, and I missed third. I'm sorry, Daihatsu. Sorry, little Daihatsu. Let's talk about revs. Wham! The tachometer needle slams its peg anytime you want. Every stop sign pull out, every acceleration away from a roundabout is virtual racing fast. And the fear is real. Fear moves blood. Blood rises cock. Cock makes babies. Unga bunga. I get what Marty from Mighty Car Mods was talking about. Ooh, this thing is fun. I'm reminded of the time I first drove a lawn tractor, and I pretended it was something other than what it was. Okay. Driving a Daihatsu, long name, is the car equivalent of riding a Honda Metropolitan, Yamaha Zuma, or Honda Ruckus. You are at wide open throttle all the time. Every road interaction is do or die because you have all the facilities but none of the power. So you use it all the time. This Daihatsu is more fun to drive than all of these. The Daihatsu Metroid Save Code is one of the most fun cars I've ever driven. These things are going to be so expensive when they get legal in the United States. Because in the United States, all our small cars are for poor people. We understand the original Minis. We understand MGs and even MG midgets. But when it comes to modern cars that are deliberately small, we think, oh, those cars are for losers. And the manufacturers don't help that. They don't make any nice small cars. No, nice is the wrong word. They don't make any desirable small cars. Miata, maybe, but that's a sports car. Not a small utility car that is fun. Scion tried. Toyota tried with the XA and the XB. They tried. More so with the XB. But again, that's America-sized. Maybe it's a safety thing that we could never get here. Well, I mean, clearly it is. We have the 25-year rule. But the Daihatsu is fun for the same reason motorcycles are fun. Because it's all up to you. That brain, that gray matter inside your skull, that's what's keeping you alive. The Rolls-Royce Wraith is a penthouse suite. And this TRXX R4 is a little tent in the woods by yourself. Which do you think you're going to remember more? I know I didn't talk about the engine that much, other than that it revs. The turbo, I don't really feel it. It's doing what it can, but it's fun that it's there. I would have loved to have this thing on a slick track or something like that. But again, still, the height of the car and the narrowness of the car worries me. And certainly, I don't have the skill to drift this. Chris Harris, maybe. So this is the end. This is the end of RCR UK. And I have to choose which car I like the best. And in most ways, you save the best for last. And it has to come down between this Daihatsu or the Rover 75. Which one would I rather have in the United States? If I could take one of these home or buy it and take it home, which one would I rather have? Now, of course, this is fantasy because 25-year rule. Both of these things are still illegal to import. Do I want a K car or do I want So British? I could see how this Daihatsu would get annoying on long trips. And if there's a uniqueness to the United States is that the distances between cities are quite long. And maybe that also speaks to the Daihatsu. Road trips to Americans are a cultural touchstone. And small cars, even that Honda Fit that we had, got sore after a while. They made you sore. My AW11, kind of annoying after an hour on the highway, just that as this, I think, would be. The Vagabond Falcon is more suited to road trips than the AW11. We like those long, pioneering Oregon Trail, legendary placehold adventures. And I don't know if a K car could satisfy that in the United States. Now, both of these cars would be a nightmare to service in the US. Neither parts are available. Although the Rover 75 is partially BMW 3 Series based. So realistically, if I could have any car here, my favorite car from the RCR UK road trip is the Rover 75. Okay, we're going to have a thank you video coming out for everybody who helped. And when the reviews pick up again, we're going to be back in the United States doing our thing. Thank you very much. And thank you for liking RCR UK.
And all I want to do is come drive your Daihatsu. Come drive your Daihatsu. And all my life I promise to not crash your Daihatsu. Not crash your Daihatsu. They say that the platform is K, the JDM1 and not the same, that Chrysler made to be the one they sold in '83.